good evening, and welcome back once again to the Imaginary Gallery. It's TJ, your host, and tonight I want to talk a little about the concept of no contact. Because if you're anything like me, when I started to investigate these cluster B toxic personalities, I kept seeing this no contact thing, and quite frankly, at first, it kind of went against everything I've ever stood for in my background, because I can recall as far back as childhood, like grade school, whether it was dealing with teachers, with parents, with friends, with peers, whatever the case, I had always, eventually learned that anytime you have a conflict with someone, you just need to sit them down, have a talk with them, explore both sides, cover the material, and feel better, which is what normally would happen throughout my experience. The problem is that does not apply when you're dealing with a covert narcissist or other cluster B creature, because you're actually dealing with a predator. You're not dealing with an equal parts human being, because a lot of times throughout regular life with non-disordered, it's simply a misunderstanding where one person sees it this way and you see it that way, and once you lay it all out on the table, you both come to a greater understanding and you grow and you improve and you get along. Well, unfortunately, that's a fantasy if you're dealing with the cluster B, because, sad to say, it actually is a no-win situation. And that's hard for some people to accept, because they're used to their life involving conflicts that have always been resolved with discussion. Well, if you've tried to have such a discussion with your cluster B, chances are you left the conversation feeling worse than you were when you started it. I will share a typical life cycle of a relationship, friend, family, lover, whatever, with a cluster B predator, monster, covert evil. The way that I find this to describe for everybody to understand would be, when you're a kid and you like to put jigsaw puzzles together? Well, imagine when you meet your cluster B monster, it's like he or she is like coming to you regularly, seeing you, and telling you how he or she is, telling you what he or she is about. And usually, of course, it's based on something you've already shown or said or both. So they start off by basically coming to you with a puzzle. And you know how those puzzles are? Well, they come in a box, and that box has an image of what the puzzle is. Well, the cluster B monstered narcissistic covert fool will present that to you verbally. So you kind of have to think of it like they're saying, hey, this is me, and they're giving you the box, which has the picture. And we'll just say, for the sake of discussion, this puzzle box has a blending of blues and greens and whites. And that's all there is, which could represent honesty, trustworthy, friendly, caring, whatever the colors represent. The point is, it's a box with a picture on it. Well, for most of us, such characteristics are things that we learn about others based on experience. But for some reason, this person who's giving us gifts and love bombing us and telling us how wonderful we are and all this, is also saying how great he or she is, and it kind of feels weird because some of us are not used to hearing such claims. We simply hang out with somebody and the truth comes out on its own. But remember, these people are in a hurry because they're phony. So you end up with a puzzle box with those colors I mentioned, and as you experience things with this person, keeping in mind the colors on the front of the box, you can imagine your various experiences with this person, like when you encounter a certain circumstance that turns out to be blue and white, and you experience a blue and white moment. It's kind of like you're reaching into your puzzle pieces and finding oh, here's a blue piece, oh, here's a white piece, and you're putting it together to create this puzzle, which is basically constructing the person that was so quick to tell you I'm blue and I'm white. Well, you experience something that is blue and white, so the pieces go together for the puzzle. This is not real. This is just a way to illustrate the process involved when you meet such a person, because it's not like regular people. So it's like putting a puzzle together, because they've already said, here's the puzzle, here's what it is, now here are the pieces. Well, they don't necessarily want you to put those pieces together, but you, in your experience, probably will, because some of us, if we meet somebody who says, I'm A, B, and C, well, we expect to see that they are A, B, and C. So you're putting the pieces together. However, if you're dealing with the type we're talking about, what many times will happen is, remember those colors that are on the box? Well, all of a sudden, something happens that turns out to be, let's say, a glittery red color. You find a glittery red puzzle piece, which would be basically something they've done that's completely out of character with the whole colors on the box. And you're perplexed, thinking, what's this piece doing here? And you might say, hey, what's this red glitter piece doing in this puzzle thing? And of course, they'll have their convenient excuse of, oh, I don't know, oh, that's a mistake, or oh, that's only because of, or whatever. But still, your mind is thinking, but on that box, there's nothing red or glittery. But you'll be told to drop it, and you may take that little red glitter piece and just set it off to the side. In the meantime, more blue and white and whatever shows up, and you keep piecing that together. But then, down the road, let's say another weird situation that's completely out of character with the other colors in the box shows up, and it's like a big glittery green puzzle piece. And you're thinking, this is nowhere on that box cover. And you may do the same process of like, why is this green glitter? And of course, you'll get the same kind of, oh, I don't know, oh, you're wrong, oh, whatever. So you may set that aside. Well, this repeats itself many times, and eventually you find yourself with a pile of multicolored glitter pieces that fit nowhere into the image on the box cover. If you're a critically thinking person, chances are you're going to start noticing this alternate pile of these glitter pieces that just do not go anywhere in the puzzle image. And what you'll be tempted to do is realize that, oh, wow, this red glitter here kind of fits with this piece. And you'll basically think independently and come up with your own conclusion to think, hey, you, Mr. Box Cover, I know you told me that you were blue, green, and white, but I happen to have found this other pattern over here, which is green glitter, red glitter, whatever glitter, and if you try to have such a discussion, you'll be told, oh, that is wrong, oh, you've made that up, oh, you're putting me down, or whatever these fools say. Which, gone is the love bombing at this point, because as long as you're not challenging them, everything's great, but the moment you start to interfere with their fake facade by saying, I know you said that you're these things, but I'm noticing these patterns with this, you know what I think? I think that you may be blue and white and whatever, but you also have some green and some red glitter, and you will be told, oh, that is not true, oh, you're wrong, oh, you've made that up, and that's abuse, by the way, because You're simply looking at your surroundings. You're noticing some of the colors go, but some don't. And a normal, non-abusive person would delve into this conversation with you about these glitter pieces and figure out where they really go and what they really mean. But you do not get such a thing with the cluster B monster, because basically they're wearing that mask, and the mask is what's on the box. So when you come up with pieces that don't match the box and you question them, you'll be silenced, you'll be manipulated. Maybe they'll say, I can't believe you're so critical of me. Fine. And then you'll, of course, think, oh, I've hurt the person's feelings. But still, you're thinking, but that doesn't explain where the glitter comes from. Well, this is contributing to the no-win situation and why the no contact is the answer. Because the basic story here is that the narcissist basically is playing a game with you from day one, and only he or she knows the rules of this game, which, by the way, do change on a regular basis, with no notice, of course, because you don't even know it's a game. And if you even question, is this some kind of game, you'll be told, oh, you're silly, even though, of course, it is a game. And there, you have to realize there's no equality in a relationship with this type of person, because they basically see the world in black and white. You're either good or you're bad. So when you first meet them and you don't know anything about them, and they're idealizing you and all that, you're good. But the moment you start piecing together these glitter pieces, saying, wait a second, something's not right, then you start to switch over to the bad category. And that's when you'll be ridiculed, you'll be gaslighted. They'll go to the flying monkeys and say, oh, this person's being so mean to me and critical of me. All I want to do is love him or her. And the other people will believe it and think, oh, that's terrible. Why is he doing that? And regardless of, many of us think, well, the first impression we had, this person was great. They were always there, always solving every problem, and I just need to ask a different way. And then you'll say, look, I understand your puzzle of blue, white, and whatever, but I still don't understand this red glitter and this. Oh, would you drop it? I told you 1,000 times. Those pieces were just dropped in by mistake or some kind of excuse. So you're not going to get anywhere to achieve your desire to make sense of your surroundings, because this evil dictator is basically saying, look, what I told you is on this box is what I am, nothing else. Do not ask questions. And they may not say those words, but their behavior is basically saying that to you, which can crush a person who's normally relied on communication to resolve conflict. But eventually, when you're involved with such a person, we say the mask slips, and pretty soon your pile of glitter pieces becomes so huge it creates its own separate puzzle, which is undeniable, especially when, with this narcissistic monster, confirmation of the red glitter shows up somewhere, confirmation of the green glitter shows up somewhere, and all the other crazy colors. So it gets to a point where the monster is like found out. And basically, when that happens, you're of no use to the person, because part of the whole thrill of dealing with you is that they had a secret that you didn't know about. And then once you uncovered it, which of course they'll never tell you it exists, but you, on your own independently, come up with alternative explanation of, you know what, I think you pretend to be the image on that box, but from what I've seen, I think you're really red and green glitter and everything else. And of course, what that does to this person who's desperately trying to maintain this fictitious mask is you are going to be causing a narcissistic injury. In its brain, it's probably thinking, why do you have to question things? Why do you have to look into things? Why don't you just believe what I say? Because this person thinks he or she is entitled to do whatever it wants, and you're just supposed to follow along, and now that you're not, it's going to twist this and reframe this all as you are abusive and you are being so mean, which of course you're not. You're again simply trying to understand your surroundings and who you're dealing with and who you're spending all this time with, who claims to love you so much. So the mask slips, and eventually it's basically no going back. You can't ever go back to the beginning stages, and then you slowly over time become the nag. You slowly become the abuser. The monster becomes the victim all it wants is love from you, and all you can do is just criticize it. And then, oh, you must want to make yourself feel better than you think you have to put me down, they'll say. And it's like, no, I'm trying to figure out the pieces of the puzzle, and I came up with an image of my own based on all this glitter, and I'm not getting any cooperation. Where's that love you said you had? And that's basically the beginning of the end. So when this type of thing happens, you can prolong it. You can be manipulated by the evil reactions to your inquiries and think, oh, I just won't talk about that anymore. We did have fun last night when the person was nice or something. So you may just shove it to the side. But the point of this all is, eventually, you're going to have to address those glitter pieces again, and you're not going to get anywhere. So it's basically a no-win situation, because if we switch this over to a non-abusive person, they would be happy to sit down with you with those glitter pieces, and maybe the two of you will discover that, oh, maybe there's a part that was covered over on the box. Oh, here it is. But no such thing exists with these monsters. So back to the no contact. Problem is, if you believe something from the love bomb stages, the real person, and you just want to get back to that person or that stage, it won't happen, because that was a fictitious personality. At the most, the person will have already recorded and stored many of the things that you might have expressed some sensitive feelings about, or some sentimental type thing. And if they're not done using you for whatever purpose they have you for, they will try to keep you around by mentioning such sweet nothings, so you'll think, oh wow, the person really understands me. But that's usually before all these pieces come out. So normally when the pieces come out and there are too many to explain away, that is when the person normally has already started looking for the next source of supply, because they know you're used up. And they may still stick around, because some of them will, because they haven't yet secured a new supply, and they'd rather have you, which is half used up supply or more than that, but it's better than nobody. But the no contact thing is, again, when you're dealing with this kind of person, there is no equality, there is no debate when it has to do with the other person, there is no adult type resolution, because this person is fixated on this fake mask and does not want to hear anything that would tarnish it. My previous study indicated that that's because these are, again, children disguised in adult bodies, and they cannot bear to think of themselves in even the slightest negative light. So your glitter red and glitter green pieces indicate somebody who's just not perfect, and these people are not prepared to accept that fact, even though deep down they know they're a monster. But they will fight it every step of the way, and that is why they say no contact is the answer, because all it's going to do is drive you batty if you keep trying to find the right words to solve this problem, and you think in your mind, well, everything else is great, this was nice, I had fun with this and that, why can't we just solve it? That's your wishful thinking, which will get the better of you. So once you realize you're dealing with a reptilian shape-shifting monster, they don't have empathy. They don't feel what you feel. They don't care. In fact, if you tell them, I feel so hurt because of this and that, that secretly gets them off. They're thinking, wow, I did a great job. Wow, this person, because it's control. They're controlling your emotions. Whether it's controlling you to love them or to hate them, they'll sit there and act like they're fine, but they're getting off. As Sasha Sloan says, they're getting stoned off you fidgeting and thinking, well, I've got to say this the right way, and they'll just tell you again how wrong you are, and eventually they move on to the next. Because many of us are tempted to go back and say, well, I remember all those fun times, they must have been worth something, and then you try to contact again. It's not long, though, if you do, before you realize you're dealing with the same kind of one-track mind monster who by now has already secured a new supply source. So you'll simply be extracurricular. And it'll be a completely different person than what you knew before. And it's just disgusting. So, hopefully these words help you somewhat understand what you've been dealing with or what you might be dealing with, and you can proceed accordingly. Peace.
I can't help it that I'm so pretty. I mean, I could have no experience and get any job. All I have to do is that little button trick, and I got the job. Maybe you could learn. Oh, but you may need to get some implants first and some plastic surgery. Oh, sorry, I digress. Anyway, recall the time that I finally used my button trick at a larger, more successful company, and they were gonna hire me, and I happened to be working over you at the time. Well, do you remember on my last day, when I'm sure you and all your sickening friends were probably secretly cheering for my leaving the company, but
You think that bothered me? Because, in case you forgot what I did,
I organized a whole report of various things you had done, and I, of course, distorted the entire thing, which actually made honorable work sound extremely dishonorable. And I submitted that to management on my last day, and I remember the joy I felt when I walked up to you right before I left with a sheet of paper, a stack actually, and said, honey, I hate to leave things this way, but here is your final warning. Sorry. Ta-ta. Good luck to you. And I laughed.